camber locking, and there are 8 camber lock basics that you need to learn. We're going to start with the name where it comes from, which is locking. So what camber lock was doing was he was just locking and freezing in certain poses, and then one specific move of those moves became the lock. So we're going to discuss the lock right now. What I want you to start with is put your feet roughly together. You're going to straighten one leg and bend the other. So I'm straightening my left leg, bending my right knee. So I'm on the toe of my right leg. So I'm just going to land in my left hip, and pop the knee. So boom. This kind of helps to compress. You want to feel like you're being squashed into the ground. So you're not just like bouncing, you're actually like whoo, and you're stopping. Then what I want you to try and do is swing your hip to the back, boom. So you want to push your hip backwards, boom. Again, boom. So you can see my knee pop and pop. Try the other side as well. Right leg straight, left knee bends. Pop your ankle, pop, and pop, and pop. Pop your hip out. So I'm not going sideways and I'm not distorting it, but I'm popping my hip just slightly backwards. Now the actual lock, this just helps you get great technique. The actual lock is just in your arms. And all that it is taking your hands as if you're grabbing like grocery bags and you're pulling up your elbows to almost a 90-degree position in your elbow. You're going to yank it up, tense your triceps, let your triceps pop, let them freeze or contract. So you're going to let them engage. So you pull up your elbows till it's almost like a 90-degree position. Make sure you look like you're holding a grocery bag, so you're going to pull it up and lock your arms in position. Pull it up and lock. Pull it up and lock. So your hands end up being around your hip height. So when you pull it up, it's roughly in line with your hips. So just pull it up, in line with your hips. Right? Now we're going to try and combine it at the same time. Lean slightly forward, and remember we're going to pop one knee, one hip goes backwards, and our elbows are going to lock in position. Again, you see it's roughly in line with my hips. It's also not close to my body, and it's also not far away as if I'm like pushing a trolley out of the line. We're actually putting it in line with our nose, so it's kind of in line with our head, in line with our hips, in this vicinity, and what it is I'm locking my elbows in place. So can you see how I'm leaning forward? There are different stylized versions of this. A nice one that is really cool to use is actually locking your rib cage down. So I want you to think someone punches you and you're like, oh! So your rib cage actually goes backwards. So you're slightly rounding your back, but it's not like you're rounding your back. It's that your rib cage went in. So it's like, oh! Someone literally punched you and you're like, oh! Or you went, oh! Okay, so you're going, oh! Oh! Don't know why it became a kung fu movie, but it did. So you're going to land in one hip, pop the other knee, punch, freeze. So you're like, oh! So you want to feel like you are grabbing the freeze. Grabbing it in your body, like, oh! And you hold it. So you don't just land in it. It's not just a position that has no tone. It actually is like a tensing of the body. He locked his muscles. When you lock your muscle, you don't just go, because that's not locked. You actually lock, like you look, right? So feel like you're panicking and you're like, ha, ha, ha. So try and feel what it feels like from one leg to the other. Feel like you contract each time. Breathe out. Honestly, breathing will help your technique in locking so much. So really, in these like freeze positions, you want to actually feel the air go out of your mouth, out of your lungs. Especially if you press in, that contraction should expel the air. Otherwise, you're not really working. So I enjoy doing where it's just bending, boom. But don't feel like you're doing that, right? That's a net. So we're gonna go lock, checklist, straight leg, hip back, knee popped on the toe. Sometimes, and this is a style version, The knee sometimes goes out, which is kind of cool. I like it. Sometimes it kind of has an edgier vibe. And sometimes this position, when you see it in a crew, looks gorgeous when they get it right. Then body, so we go leg, hip, knee, foot, chest, arms. There's one tiny thing that I want to add. There's a neck movement, so don't have your chin up. Feel like you're pushing, something is pushing your head down. So you kind of like, it's like, you know those old school like blues bands that were like, with a big, what is that big instrument? That one, you know what I mean? Feel like bluesy. Funk music comes kind of from the blues era, blues and soul, so you actually want to feel kind of like when you're dancing. You don't want to be locking like this. You want to be locking like this. Okay, get into character. Okay, so again, we're going to add now the neck, and then I'm going to do a tiny little edit, not edit, that's weird. Legs, hip, knee, foot, chest, arms, neck, wrist. So all it is just push your wrist down. So when you grab, pull and lock your wrist. A little bit of a twist that happens in your wrist. Don't make it too big. It's just so that it's not like this, but just the back of your hand stroke. Okay, you just drop it down a little tweak. Again, more of a stylized thing. So it's okay if you don't do it. It's actually okay, but it sometimes just looks better when people have a bit more of a shape going on. Okay, again, like I said, the lock itself has many different interpretations. In my opinion, if you learn to nail these positionings, when you do other stylized locks, when you see some people, they do really cool ones, your technique doesn't look like it's gone out of line. You still look correct, but you look stylized. If you're trying to do a different lock straight off the bat, it tends to look a little bit like, literally. So I would prefer you trying to go into these alignments. So again, you're just going to do it on each leg. Left leg straight, in the hip to the back. Knee popped, ankle lifted as high as you can. Feel if you want to bring your knee in or out. Don't let your shoulders twist. Your shoulders are straight, your hip is back. Lock your ribs. Lock your neck. Lock your arms. They're locked, they're tense, right? Make sure that they're in line with your hips and in line with your face. You should be able to see at your hands when you lock. If you can't see your hands when you're looking straight ahead, your hands are too close to your body. You want to be able to see them in your peripheral. Yeah? Peripheral. Yeah? And slightly move around with your wrists and feel like liquor. So we're going to practice that position a couple of times on each leg. So right leg now, right leg straight, in the hip, knee popped, high on the ankle, ribs, neck, arms, I can see them and just dropping my wrists. So I'm going to go into that position, lock, other side, and lock, other side, and lock. So it's better when it comes from the bottom because you get like a little boom. When it's anywhere else and people lock, it's a very different technique. We will get into straight locking later on in the course because it helps with speed and musicality. But when we train locking, when we train the lock, always come from the bottom. The bottom. Don't make it too much of a thing out of the top. Just make sure it's going down, look, down, look, down, look. It's nice for me, a little edgy thing is I go punch. I feel like it does a springboard. So I let it bounce off the bottom. I go zoop. So I'm going 5, 6, 7, 8, zoop. Do you see? 5, 6, 7, 8, zoop. 5, 6, 7, 8, zoop. That is something very difficult to teach. That is why when you do your homework, please send me your lock video. Film yourself doing the lock and send it to me because I'm going to spend a lot of time personally with each one of you, correcting where your line is and all of those little alignments, making sure you get it, making sure that your own personal lock does come out. Because I do have my own version as well. but I make sure I train a foundation type of lock first. So we're gonna do the lock a couple of times to music just to drill it in. We're gonna go lock, left, lock, left, lock, left, lock, left, lock, left. Breathe out. Try and delay going into your lock as long as possible. So don't go and lock. I want you to go lock. Lock split. So now try without the bounce, and you'll feel when your own version starts coming out. Drop. Drop. Make sure your arms are in line with your hips. Try and get that nice funky feel with your neck. Compress yourself. Try and get yourself lower. I'm going to go sideways. Okay. Another stylized tip is feel like you punch the side of your body. So you're still going forward. And don't let it twist. You're just kind of shifting it slightly over to the one side. It's nice when you pop your knee. So you have to hear. Notice that I'm not bending my other leg, so I'm not doing this. I'm not bending